meeting of the Illinois Planning Board for June 24th. Second. All in favor?
Roll call vote for Mimi,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and Gardner.
You know, I think we can actually do voice votes. Very person.
So I don't have to do this.
Yes.
I don't right now, because there's only 3 members present who might be making some decisions, and then later 2 others might come in. I just thought for the record, to take the vote might be the better, course of action.
But, well, before we leave the subject and go to whatever is actually on our agenda, we should not have coffee. Would it make sense to not only call a meeting with everybody's internal staff, but just document what the actual workflow is now, like the city clerk sending people to you to ask questions.
Absolutely.
But if we put that together as a full flow chart, then we can say, here's where this doesn't work, even as an impromptu thing.
Right.
Here is where it could work if you want to write it into the ordinance. Or give it to everybody as a guide.
Right.
But this is not what we can do as that.
Absolutely, I welcome that 100%. I know Coco is on board for a future meeting as well. It's just been timing wise, and I think also I think someone's running against her. I'm not quite sure how much time she's looking to invest in this, assuming, I'm not sure how confident she is in the election to make it worth her while at this point, but I could be totally wrong,
Well, sounds like we need to do the basic documentation.
Yeah.
It's nobody else's fault.
Right.
So if we could just start keeping notes about what has happened.
Yeah.
Why on earth do we think marijuana special with this marijuana letter means that we get site plan review of this?
Right.
And generally for the planning side of OPEC to be the distributor and collector of all this stuff. Because if so, we need somebody who is dedicated to that position.
Right.
You guys shouldn't have to do it. So,
I agree.
okay, let's take notes. Let's see what we can get done. Make for a neat transition to planning board business, section 10, marijuana review.
So in your packet, under your agenda, we have 2 drafts of letter and Parker.
Yeah, so both of the drafts are basically stating the same thing. One is 1 paragraph and the other is more letter-like. They're not changing really anything about the site besides adding a curb cut or getting rid of one.
So if I may just add one more thing. So the issue with this is that recently, and because now marijuana has actually been on the books since, believe it or not, 2013, 2014, that's when we started talking about it. And our first project was approved in 16, which was GTI, formerly then known as RISE. Anyways, the issue is that now there's a lot of transfers of ownership. And under section 710(4) something, 4.3, it states something to the effect that transfer of ownership requires that the applicant or the new owner come and resubmit that the special permit's not transferable, that that basically they've got to come back. So somehow the Buddha Brothers, which then became nameless, is now known as Roland J's. Totally change of ownership. They slipped through. Back in the day, Tiger Town is now Days. But recently, Euphorium, which is 15 Main Street, is now becoming Six Sand LLC. Leaf Lux, which is 40 Lyman Street, is going to become Green something. And so, but now I think this will be the 3rd one now. That's transfer of ownership, 3rd one. And the issue is that obviously the applicant is very upset that they've got to do this review. And I don't necessarily blame them. This might be something I think we may have discussed on the side last we met. And that we might want to find someone. I haven't done it yet because I just wasn't sure of the makeup and with the way the council meetings have been. But we need to, perhaps look at a zone change to revisit if it's just the name, if it's just a change of ownership with nothing, and even if we get them to sign an affidavit saying there's no changes, then basically, that one paragraph just basically says there's no changes, and that's it. The other one is more detailed, where the additions are closing of a curb, and the final, even though the planning board issued a special permit for an increase in fence height for the Sally Port at 15, they never built it because at the time Chief Pratt wrote a letter from the police department saying you don't need it. But he's not really a guy that has the ability or a position that can waive a zoning requirement. So this group now, Simpson LLC, they're just saying we're going to do it, just so that way we, everyone will be happy. We're not out of compliance and so forth. Due to some bad submission dates and getting the wrong information originally, unfortunately, that's why they're being dragged into the summer. And hopefully they're hoping to get on the August agenda to be approved. But anyways, it's just this whole, so there's two possible letters here, two possible scenarios. But just know that this other group that's buying leaf flux at 40, they literally submitted a piece of paper that says, we're seeking a waiver of everything under section 710, which under 710, there's no provisions that allow for that. So their attorney did email me today, and honestly, I didn't call him back because I wasn't up for that conversation, because his submission is basically not acceptable. It just can't be. There's nothing there. But we are having a pre-op meeting with him on July 8th. And at this point, I think the only person that's going to be there besides myself, just due to vacation and other scheduling, I think it's just Young and myself. So it's not like it's me telling them you need to do complete submission. But anyways, just know that there's another one in the queue besides this one. But this is just kind of, there are two different versions here. One has an abbreviated version and one has a more thorough review. But again, just bear in mind that all this is a change of ownership. So it just depends on what depth the board wants to approve or be able to pass along.
I think the way you said that if it's only ownership, that should be okay, right?
But it's not.
But.
Well, by ordinance, it's not. So that's the thing. Like currently, as it stands, they have to under section 710.
710.5.4.
That's right. Okay, thank you. Yep. So with that, they actually have to resubmit everything. It's a new project. But that would be like JCPenney becoming Macy's. Realistically, if it's just a change of ownership, do you really need to have that? I mean, I'm just, this might be one of those things that with a new council, maybe that would be an easy pass for them to amend the ordinance to have it be that it's not, well, I guess it doesn't help us now.
No.
But there might be a future zone change to reduce that, or rather,
Maybe that's part of the packet that we put together for city council with our.
for the same time.
Trying to talk at the same time, but we could possibly put a sentence in either piece saying that there is no division currently in our ordinance allowing us to waive any of these submission requirements, even though this is just change of ownership. And if we do that next level, possibly it puts it on the horizon.
We start with that.
I mean, other than it's trying to teach, it's trying to, yeah.
This is what's happening and this is why, and I think having a more dense letter makes sense because it's talking about all the areas that we are now reviewing because we don't have this ability to just
Sure.
transfer. Because this letter just makes it feel like it's easy,
Oh, sure.
which
Which it could be,
it could be.
but it's currently not.
So
Correct.
all this work went into it.
Oh, sure.
So that should be the sentence.
You're not wrong. Okay.
Like
Well-
per section 710.5.4B.
Which fortunately, in this case, well, I mean, obviously part of the answer to it better, but the only changes they're making are those two items. But now as far as the contents are concerned,
We're missing a photometric plan. But that's because they're using all the streetlights, so now it's not.
so it just depends on where the board wants to go.
think we should go with the more verbose letter that spells everything out and just add in a section at the beginning saying,
It's practical, but
yeah,
second paragraph, probably only read like one top by a lot about all of this unraveling, physical things must be visible. You know, when you take a second look at it.
yeah.
So is this something then that we can make that amendment? Or, well, I don't want to get into the, do we forward it back to you, three, or do you just want to have us? Okay, so we'll add something, and then if you could just come in and sign it, it's based upon.
Not a problem. We have to, vote to approve the letter as amended.
The longer of the two, or item, or the longer item, or however we want to say that.
More detailed.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call vote for Mimi,
Yes.
Warren, and Gardner.
Yes.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah. Always nice. You will.
I don't know if the one downstairs was locked, so you may have to go next, you may have to go back to the old building.
Alright.
I'm not sure if the ones that are down here are online.
Yeah.
The bushes are high?
No, no.
Oh, sorry. That's locked.
Yeah, yeah, before we jump into
Okay.
the plan.
No. Maybe it was- Okay.
I'm suggesting that we jump ahead to the schedule. Next few meetings.
Okay, so next, on July 8th, we've got the Victory Theater, site interview, Victory Theater, park reduction, Victory Theater signs. Now, before you, you've got each of, the 11x17 that you can take home with you to look at. We'll be hearing them on the 8th. Now, I may send to some of you, I don't recall, so that their submission was lacking in certain regards. And honestly, they were actually requesting almost to be pushed off till July 22nd. But prior to that, in my conversation with John Hammer, who's the representative from SLR, he's kind of taking the lead. But one of the issues that he had was he did not have the correct square footages and had no idea truly what they were building. So in conversation with the architects, it was literally, I gave him till 3:15 on the day of the deadline. And at like 3:10, he emailed me and said, this is what we believe to be the final square footage. Unfortunately, I don't have my computer in front of me, I can't look at it, but from the very beginning, it was botched. That the building was significantly larger than what they were proposed, not even including the bump out into the alley. So that being said, there was an email that came back to me, and basically, it sounds as though they're willing on the 8th, knowing that staff and departments, because of the late submission and arguably botched submission, that they're willing to come in on the 8th as an open the hearing, present their plans, talk to the board can answer back. The board can also, or the public can also speak, but they're acknowledging that their submission was less than stellar, and that we can, basically they're willing to continue it out, and that the actual guts of the technicality will be discussed on July 22nd. Now, I know that Parker's doing the pre-review on it. I have not yet to look at it. I won't pick that up till early next week, as I'm not going to be here tomorrow, Thursday, or Friday. So that being said, Victory Theater, you can certainly take that copy home with you and review it on your own. I think the stuff's already been dumped down the drive in part, but otherwise you've got the hard copy here. And then moving on, we've got Tiago Martins, who was the zone change earlier this year. He's now looking to do the special permit for a parking reduction, special permit under 884, which is under the DR district, allowing to vary the various sizes and setbacks and whatnot based on the averages. And we also have an A and R. Obviously, we have the A and R. We just can't process it yet until the special permit presumably will be approved. But that'll be discussed further that night. We've also got Peck School. They're looking to do a large sign facing North Canton Street or west on the side of the building. So when you're driving by the field, you can look over there and see it. That needs a special permit, which they've applied for. But we've also got in the front, they're putting up more of a message board that they acknowledge won't be flashing, scrolling, or blinking, but will be like a stagnant electric sign. So it might say one day or 1 week MCAS on Thursday, making stuff up, whatever. But the fact is, it's not going to be something that I just said, well, we're going to hold you to that. And then if it starts doing that and neighbors complain, it's going to be enforced. So anyways, that's on them to, they're going to present that evening. On July 22nd, currently all we have is 209 South Street, Duncan, item number 14, which I believe is a 6-month update. And then just today, I also got an email reminder from Light Shift. This is also their 6-month update. I'm gonna look back, kind of check my calendar to figure out any other updates that are coming up. Because I feel like we're also at the verge of, actually the Magic Salvage place. Sorry. Anyway, there might be some others that are kind of around there.
Well, Victory's coming back.
That's right, as well, correct. And the Victory. So that's that. And then so far on August 12th to 26th, now that email from, I'm not, I guess that's still very far out, but it's sooner than you believe. They even acknowledged in that email that there might be a third meeting on August 12th and that maybe their final approval would be August 26th. And that's Victory offering that, I guess, in an optimistic world. So, right. Right. Oh, and then also, we still have to finish the board didn't know, so on July 8th, we do have the continuation of, we've got the continuation of this temporary fence height too. We never resolved that, right? So, I don't remember that. Because that would be a continuation because they still haven't, they didn't have the details. And I remember arguing with them shortly thereafter because they didn't know what a detail was, the guy from Bar and Bar. So evidently SLR had no idea that Bar and Bar submitted for that fence because SLR said that they were going to do all the permitting. So
Sounds like they need to have a meeting.
they
Say,
do
who's
completely,
handling what?
completely,
Yeah.
completely. So, like August 12th, August 26th, the only thing that might be there would be any other continuation. Now, on a side note, let's see. The only things I've got, which might, so one thing while I've got you in a room today, even though we technically don't have it on the agenda, but because I believe the board's going to approve it eventually on an agenda, is that I brought, so Salmar on the mountain recently being, we didn't formally receive this yet, but they're doing an A&R plan on the mountain to carve off 3/4 of an acre for the Dunkin' Donuts. And interestingly, the check was signed by Linda Rostock. I just find that interesting because I thought Peter was kind of done with it. So obviously this is just a snapshot of the total space that the log cabin owns, but the yellow line there is the new parcel being created for the future fast food restaurant. And so technically it meets all the requirements. There's really no reason why the board shouldn't approve it. Yeah, right, correct. And then it's a little bit up the hill. Basically, it's just encompassing the site down the southerly lot. But I think it would be, if I could get, the whole board to sign, it would be ideal. But technically, I don't know if Jane would let us if she was here tonight, because this isn't on the agenda, I'm not sure if she'd let us hear this or discuss this. But while I've got you on a room, I'd rather put it on or have you sign it, then we'll talk about it formally at the next meeting. Because but under normal circumstances, I could just say, Mimi, can you come in as a designated signer and sign this? We'll bring it to the next meeting. So there's a bunch of different avenues here, but I would love the whole board. If the board's going to approve this, which I don't see why you wouldn't, I think it'd be awesome if you guys all could sign it, because it would almost show like, versus just you being the one signer. If ever, because we can have all 5 board members sign.
Sandy, the AMR thing. is that if the requirements are satisfied, we have no discretion anyway.
Right, exactly.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right, it has frontage, it has access, and it's on a line. So the fact that they're but there just so happens they're meeting the requirements of BH, so there's no reason why you shouldn't. So the actual future restaurant, is being built like right here to the southerly side. And then there's that long, drive-through window that goes back here and then out. And then the parking would be in someplace in here.
Haven't had the whole bus up and sign something.
Checks. Yeah.
Since the.
Right.
No idea.
Right. So, I'm sure it was, might be a silent partner there, but, okay. As I think it would look kind of cool if the whole board signed it just versus the designated signer, just because it would show like, hey, exactly. So, what I'll do after is I'll put it on the table over there, and then as this meeting breaks up, you all can just sign it, that'd be great. And then, let's see, sound A&R. Well, there's another A&R coming in too, but I don't have the final copy to call it real yet. Florence Bank, submitted an A&R. And, this isn't Peter's first rodeo. All he did is give us the Mylar, a copy of the application. No, two copies of the application and the check, but didn't give us the paper copies that we then distribute to the offices. So I'm waiting on those before that becomes real, or before we receive it formally. So that's somebody else coming down the pipeline, as well as Yoni's gonna be submitting a letter, and I want to say it's for, in-city tree planting, in-city forestation, something to that effect. But he's gonna give us a draft copy of the letter, which I thought, I just texted him, but I can't, I have no signal on him for some reason. And he was hoping that if I discussed it with you, that you guys have done it in the past, which again, I was hoping they're gonna give me something, but he's gonna give it to me, the letter, and for the board chair's review, with the understanding that he hopes you'll sign it to support this project. We've done it before. I think it's just the second round. Unfortunately, I've got nothing else because I was hoping he was gonna give me the letter before 5:30 today, and he didn't. I don't think so. I think it's something to do. Again, it's terrible. I don't know enough about it, so I could be talking about something else. But I thought it was something to do with forest, green infrastructure and down in the urban area or something like that. But I could be completely wrong now because I've heard a lot of it. But something's gonna be coming that perhaps if you could review it and we're willing to sign with the board, I can forward it to you all. But again, I don't know.
But are you saying, great?
But what I'm hoping to do is, because I'm gonna hoping to email Yoni tonight, because I'd like him to forward this letter to Parker and Brianna, because again, I don't have email access this week. So I don't want to be the one that caused it not to go through. So I'll have him forward.
He knows that, right? But so, yeah, he knows that.
That I don't have access? Oh, he knows I'm not gonna be here, but I still wanna just arrange it so that it goes to them so that it can be processed. Okay, so like I said, right now I've got nothing for the 12th, nothing. Oh, another note too, and I'm kind of going other business. On July 8th, we have a pre-application meeting with ISO New England that they're looking to build an 80,000 square foot plus building at where the Curtis Business Forums are at 115 White Farms Road, the corner of Sullivan Road and White Farms Road, which is formerly owned by Cataldo, their properties, and that there's been that building there for years, underutilized. And they're looking to build an 80,000 square foot, basically ISO conference center there with 120 some odd visitor parking spaces and 240 employee spaces. But it's going to be added to the campus of the ISO New England on Sullivan Road, and Sullivan Road will still be the primary access point to access this building. But it's a pretty straightforward site plan review. Presume they're testing the waters with this pre-op meeting. Let me think if I know else about it. I think that's primarily it. It's fortunately, it's VHB. John Furman's in his last year now, he's retiring. So he's not taking on new projects, but it'll be Mike Petrin, who, if I recall, did Holyoke Community, what was it? The charter school. And Mike also did Lavalle Road, the headquarters for O'Connell's. So anyways, great guy as well as, we'll break him in well. But nice guy, just like John Furman, very informative, knows his stuff. So it'll be nice to have another VHB project because they generally go very well.
What's the address you said?
115 Whiting Farms Road for his business forms.
So you said the access coming from the.
Sullivan Road though, yeah. So the go through
One
the
gate
gate.
was on the one that's gonna be left or the
So right now there's a current building there that they're gonna demolish. Next to that building, there's a big open space that for years Frank Cataldo was trying to sell up his dialysis units and all this. Right now, they got a variance. Not a variance, but rather they appealed the building department's decision and they were proposed to be repackaging oil there. As far as like bringing tanker trucks in and rebottling it under someone's private name. So putting an 80,000 square foot building there is a heck of a lot better than a oil repackaging facility. So anyway. Yeah, and then what I was told is that it's gonna become like the hub for New England. So if they're gonna have a conference amongst ISO people, they're all gonna come to this location. I asked why such a huge parking lot? That's gigantic. And that was the rationale I was given. But I've also started to try to talk them out of some of their parking because it's just way overparked. So I think right now I've got them to get rid of the two closest parking rows that are next to Sullivan Road. So it'll be to the north of the project.
Most of it is deferrable.
Exactly, I agree. It's a lot of parking, considering the parking they've already got in the existing facility. So, I asked about blast walls and all that. Currently, they're saying that, well, I guess there's no idea if they have to do blast walls of this or not, because the actual ISO has a blast wall built into the along 91. So in case someone ever wanted to bomb it, that it would further reduce a bombing. Yeah. Anyway. Don't go there yet. So, that's all we've got for future meeting schedule.
Since I think that we're going to use a week time to get it. Yes. Let's footnote this now because scatterbrain. Probably the master plan is a good place for me to try to incorporate something that I continue to be really concerned about with data centers. I think it would be good to be able to say no data centers in any area unless they H2 absolutely guarantee that this will not result in too much of a drain on electricity increases for existing rate payers. Because obviously this is happening elsewhere. They come in, they slow them to pay huge taxes and it's making great, and then everybody's electricity costs go.
Right.
So,
And I can see why it would be attractive.
exactly.
But that is.
So I think it would be good to get ahead of this, and I have to ensure that the right thing to do is to attempt to get it through the election. Here's a or whether it's something, see it in a friendly council to produce a new change.
Right.
If we want it done really faster.
So that was on our list of topics we put this list together several months ago. And so it happened to be number 10, but it was, just in a general list, no particular order. So, and hopefully out of all these discussions, that'll be one of the things that we can, unless you want to promote it sooner, it is on the list.
I don't know if it is an emergency, but it is international news often have become twitchy about it. Easier to say no than we've already said we didn't do this, but suddenly respond to that we haven't acted on something.
So I don't know, does the board want to go right into item number 2 at this point? Unless there's any other business that you wish to speak of. I know that obviously we're waiting for 2 more board members.
Definitely just get
Well, that-
quick, catch up on what we discussed for the wedding, which could be able to be You've said to me a few times that you'd love to just start with page 1 and go from there.
We could, so, right, the other thing that while we were in person, one of the things I would love to do is start to, I've got a bunch of different maps, untouched, I mean, just general, let's look at the city, kind of look at it from, just, you know, the mosaic tiling that's there, however you want to say it. And then, it's, it doesn't have to be about last time, but back when we did this in 2000, the planning board for several meetings sat over these maps and started looking at, you know, the areas to say, you know, that, you know, for instance, upper Dwight Street at Northampton, that was a proposed area where the BE zone could go. But yet no one ever bought into it, but it's setting a zone in the city that no one's ever taken advantage of business entry. But yet the biggest thing
This. What, like the list of the things that we want to talk about.
I'm sorry, this is Sharon. I don't see it back to me. Let's see if it's something. Hello, Sharon.
Can you? Do that?
Hmm?
You bring
I'm
a
gonna
list
say
of
more
like
than
all
that.
of the things that we wanted to talk about. So we can-
Okay, I haven't found the suitcase yet either. Okay, later, bye. Sharon says hello. She doesn't know what it is. So, so I don't know if the best way to lay this out. For the 3 members that we currently have present. This is the general 36 by 60 the zoning. That's the close up, zoom in. I've got that one as well. I didn't want to break this one out, but I will if you're asking for it, but I'm mentioning it.
The Wi-Fi in here is not good, so. All right.
So there, this one here that I had a conversation with. I believe it was at one point it was myself, Mimi, and Parker upstairs. And then later it was Rosanna and Lauren. So this copy as well, which I can kind of go into a little bit of detail, obviously momentarily. And then also, we also have a couple other, we may not even yet know that, like, I've got a zoomed in section of downtown. I have a zoomed in section of this area. I have a zoomed in section of this area. It just depends on where the board wants to go, you know, for the current stuff. Or, so, let me know where we're going, but if you want to take, I don't know if you want to open up or have me kind of describe what some of the blue marks on this were. And again, it was one of our kind of stabs at it for different thoughts. You know, when looking at the master comp plan, one of the issues was, sure.
We want to talk about the plan itself in the sections that like. This is not useful to us.
Yeah.
I feel like the numbering, it's definitely reflected in the sections of this, but it gets really granular. It's really fast, whereas I think there's some big swaths of this that just don't work. Right?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi in here is not working.
Is there any way to make it work through this? If you were to log in here, would it record off of that? So one of the things that you may have noticed or not was in the Google Drive, I had Alex go through and took Kate's comments, Lauren's comments, Aaron's comments, Parker's comments, my comments, and compiled them all into this one thing with pages like there's this major questions to consider, and then it goes into the pages specifically, page 4, 12, 13. I didn't make copies for so let me stick down. But eventually I would have to meet with Alan and walk through this. And without that ever comes to it, he seems a hard guy to lock down. But almost good. But, yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't take all the blame though, 'cause I mean, we've asked for months. We have a meeting and you backed me twice or 3 times on Zoom, and he would just kind of blow over it. He would never respond to it. And to this point, he still really hasn't been firm with wanting to respond either. Right. But now that's, so there might be some minds or like thought here, but I do believe there's other board members or, that you don't have to believe, that may not necessarily agree. So like, as an example, like I think we should keep RM 2046. There's others that think we should get rid of it. So I mean, it's not about what I think. It's this is your plan. What do you want to see? So.
Once we decided probably what the next time.
Again.
She's at large right now.
Oh. And is there something you in place now?
No, because well, what I'm hearing, and again, remember this is my office.
Right.
I'm hearing that they're not gonna hire until September. But one thing I'm gonna ask the board eventually to be involved in, I was talking about this earlier today, is that evidently Aaron wants to relook at all of our job descriptions. And I'm just always kind of concerned about that, so I eventually may ask a board member to review my job description as well. Because now they're down to 2 staff members on that side of the office. Myself, Parker, and Alex and Brianna are way over busy for what we're doing right now. And if suddenly they tell us that we have to start doing something that we're on that side of the office, I'm sorry, but they should also be picking up the slack for some of it. So, right,
He's gonna hold support from other boards.
That's right. right. But see, I would argue in normal circumstances, shouldn't that side of the office or that department pick up that slack versus just say, we're not doing it? So I'll leave it at that.
This is why I asked the question. Great job.
So on Monday, I will email you both and let you know where I've locked down an actual place for a 9:30 meeting. I hope it's in I would love it to be upstairs somehow, just because
Easier.
well, I hope it's not super hot, because at least I can access the computer and the network and all that, where it doesn't really seem to be working that well, at least I'm not familiar with it that well. Anyway, I'll let you know Monday where we're gonna be.
Chickens in the short term and post it now. Okay, so chicken's off to them. We've done our part on chickens.
I believe so.
That's the law. But we've done it. So. But chickens doesn't need to be refiled, it's still within. That's my knowledge.
That's-
Although I think there was a water. So I'm not going to use that. The mother had not just before that. That's the like any board of the health department to do that. He used to be existing. One of the things that they apparently do, which I actually saw about watching for some movies, is apparently they book to wait for them, but they never tell us. So I would tune in and whoever's checking in, so say, is anyone planning? Yeah, no, we don't know.
Yeah, like we need them like tell us when we're supposed to be here.
Yeah, they didn't tell Jeff, they didn't tell anybody in the office, they certainly didn't tell me.
There's nothing about that shop.
Sorry, because we can't show up. We might not anyway, because we're putting in a lot of hours. But
Outside of our meeting.
yeah,
Speaking of.
so anyway.
The only item that you missed was up there are there's a plan from Salima / Log Cabin to do an A&R plan at the Log Cabin, dividing up approximately 34,000 square feet, so about 3/4 of an acre off of the Log Cabin property for the site that would be the future Dunkin' Donuts. And I was hoping, oh, thank you. I was hoping that I could have the whole board sign that. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. It meets all the requirements in zoning ordinance, we need frontage, access, and it's on a way. But instead of just a designated signer, I think it would just be great if the whole board would sign it, because then it kind of shows that there's, well, solidarity is the right word, but it just kind of comes off being better, not just, so if you all would like to sign that, I would appreciate it.
They have to, that really reinforces everything, like a legal agreement.
There would have to be cross easements. I would think for pathway or ways of passage, or I guess at that point, I mean, pedestrian passage. And as I mentioned earlier, what's interesting as well is it's Linda Ross Scotland who wrote the check. It's just interesting, considering that supposedly the interest is sold.
Yeah, so that they go to the council, they go back, they could have a copy. Woo-hoo! Oh, motion to adjourn.
Rihanna said, something and she seconded it. I.
Laura's.
We have to sign